Quickly, before we get into this video, it would mean a lot if you hit that subscribe button. We're getting so close to 1,000 subs, and I'd really appreciate it. But anyways, let's get on to the video. Anthony Joshua knocked out Francis Ngannou in the second round, and it was one of the most disturbing knockouts I've seen in boxing in a long time. Seeing a big guy like Francis just go down like that was crazy to see, and he got dominated. He got dropped twice before that, before getting knocked out, got put on the canvas 3 times, and it just showed the levels to this. AJ was just on another level. Francis's inexperience as a boxer really showed here. I think that Fury performance might have warped some of our minds and thought it would be more competitive than it should have been. A lot of what Francis Ngannou does not translate well to boxing, like that wide guard. He showed that in both the Fury fight and here, which leaves a big hole right down the center. He also tried to counter everything Joshua did with a check left hook, which made him extremely predictable, and he pretty much only threw his left hand, left hooks and left jabs. He didn't even throw his right hand that much. He also kept dropping his hands, which made him extremely hittable. He kept his hands way too low instead of holding a good high guard, which made it much easier for Joshua to time his shots and catch Francis on the chin. Joshua came out in that first round primarily targeting the body with a lot of body jabs. He wasn't really targeting the head, and that was doing a few things. One, it was drawing out reactions from Francis, and 2, it was conditioning Francis to expect the body shots so then AJ could go up high to the head. And the way Francis would try and defend these body jabs is he would reach his hand very low to parry it. AJ would feint low with that body jab. Francis would dip his right hand down to parry it, which would leave his chin exposed. Now, it never happened, but AJ could have been setting up that feint jab to the body, left hook upstairs. And the other thing those body jabs were doing, it was drawing the left hook out of Francis. As I said, Francis basically tried to counter everything with a left hook, which was one of his better punches over in MMA, and it was also one of his better punches in the Tyson Fury fight. He actually dropped Tyson Fury with that check left hook. But as I pointed out in my prediction video for this fight, Ngannou's hooks come really wide, which leaves a room right down the center for that right cross from AJ and the jabs from AJ. He was throwing those wide hooks, especially the left hooks, in the Tyson Fury fight, and he was also doing it in this fight, which left him extremely defenseless. And pretty much all AJ was doing was throwing jabs and crosses. He didn't throw that many hooks, and he was just moving out to his own left because Francis was always looking for that left hook, and that actually almost got AJ caught once where Francis threw this big overhand right that AJ moved into, but luckily he was able to get his hand up to block it. But that body jab was giving Francis a ton of problems, and to try and counter this, Francis switched into southpaw, which is what he did against Tyson Fury. If you remember, that jab from Tyson was giving Francis a ton of issues, and Fury was able to basically just bag rounds off his jab. So what Francis did is he came out southpaw, which makes it easier to shut off that jab because your lead hands are right there. It's easier to parry, easier to catch. So that's what he did towards the end of the first round against Joshua to try and counter that jab. But because they're now in opposite stances, it makes it much more of a footwork battle to try and set up your power hand. And the footwork difference between these two was very clear. AJ knew exactly where to place his feet, exactly how to set up his shots. And because AJ invested so much in the body shots, conditioning Francis with them, he wasn't really committing to the head, but the second he did, he dropped Francis. With them both in opposite stances, controlling the outside foot position is crucial. And because Anthony Joshua's footwork is miles better than Francis's, he was able to control it easily, step to the outside, lined up that power hand. And what did Francis do? He dropped that right hand to try and parry what he thought was a body jab coming after him, but really was a right cross. And Francis never saw it coming. He didn't even try and parry it with his left hand. It just landed straight on the chin of Francis, dropping him to the floor for the first time in his combat sports career. You can actually see Tyson Fury clapping in the back after AJ dropped him. And after he dropped Francis, AJ came back out, and he came back out patient. He didn't just go straight for the finish because he knew the power coming back at him, and he didn't want to get caught. And then in that second round, AJ was still investing in the body. He was still working off his jab, keeping Ngannou on the end of that jab. And then in the second knockdown, which was way worse than the first one, Ngannou throws out his jab and drops his lead hand. That was one of his biggest issues throughout the entire fight. He just constantly dropped his hands. So Francis throws out his jab and then on the return drops his hand, leaving that right hand opening over the shoulder for AJ. And AJ places that overhand perfectly right on the chin, arcs it just over the shoulder, dropping Francis. And this one was way worse than the first one. This was the beginning of the end. The fight was already over. Francis's corner probably should have just thrown in the towel. This one was bad. Look at Francis's face. Look at the way he hit the ground. Francis is tough because most guys would not have got back up after that shot. And then right after, AJ just unloads this overhand from the depths of hell, from the hip with no setup. He knew Ngannou was out of it at that point and put Ngannou out cold. One of the most devastating knockouts I've seen in boxing in a long time. And And as a Francis fan, this was kind of hard to watch. I love Francis. I love AJ too. I love his story, but AJ proved what Fury couldn't, that Francis does not belong with the top level of boxers, which is something I knew sort of in the back of my head, but I think that Fury performance blinded me a little. But Ngannou, in my opinion, did beat Tyson Fury, had the greatest debut boxing performance of all time. He made a boatload of money, 30 million confirmed. It's probably closer to 50 million with pay-per-view and sponsors. Made so much money to where him and his family never have to move a muscle for the rest of their life. As for what's next for both of these guys, Francis did say in the post-fight interview, post-fight press conference, that he is going to stick in boxing and he's going to stick in the PFL. I think he can still beat a lot of these guys. We'll see how he comes back from that knockout, because he is 37 years old and that was a brutal knockout. Got dropped twice and then knocked out cold. We'll see how he recovers. I think he can still beat a lot of the guys in the heavyweight division, not the top guys obviously, but honestly I think he should either retire or go back to the PFL. I would say go back to the PFL, fight whoever the PFL heavyweight champion is, but take some time off. That shouldn't happen till like next year. As for Anthony Joshua, it was said that the winner of this fight was going to face the winner of Usyk and Tyson Fury, which is in May I believe, but I think they're signed for 2 fights, and if they split them, go 1-1 each, then they might just do the trilogy right after, so it could be a while before AJ is fighting the winner, and I'm assuming that AJ's not going to want to wait a year or two for the winner, so maybe he fights Joseph Parker, who had a very good performance against Jalil Zhang, or maybe they do put that Deontay Wilder fight together, but I don't know how many people are interested in that at the moment. Maybe the Andy Ruiz trilogy. There's a few different fights you could go, but overall it was an amazing performance from Anthony Joshua, one of the easiest fights of his career, made Francis Ngannou look like nothing, and I think that Fury fight got a whole lot more interesting, and honestly I've been on this train for a few months now. I think AJ beats Tyson Fury. I don't think he beats Usyk. I do think Usyk is still the best heavyweight boxer on the planet, but this is the best version of AJ I've ever seen, the version that fought Wallen and Francis, so we'll see where it goes. But anyways, that's the end of the video. If you are new here and you did enjoy, please be sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, like the video, leave your opinions on this fight in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.